Todd Poole, man, thanks for coming down here. We appreciate it.
Well, it took a minute, didn't it?
It
It did, man. I mean, we were scheduled for so many times, but I'm glad to be here. And I think what you guys are doing is incredible for Memphis music, letting people see what's going on in Memphis, man. Everybody from cover bands to original bands.
Absolutely.
And man, it's awesome. I've been following y'all. I try to watch as many as I can, but I'm so busy. But I've caught a few. I know the people y'all are getting on the show, which is really cool.
That is cool.
I did watch Pete Mendelo's all the way through, and I think I saw who else? I saw Motley.
No, we hadn't had Mott in yet.
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
No, it wasn't that interview for this one. I've seen a couple of them,
That's cool.
but man, I just love what y'all are doing. I think it's what Memphis needs right now. I mean, it's kind of cool that y'all are touching down on a lot of local stuff and letting people kind of find out what's going on in the local scene. And I mean, that's awesome.
Everything we're doing is what we envisioned, and in theory, interview local musicians.
Right.
We didn't know that it would catch on like it did.
Man,
it's really cool.
And everybody, it seems like I don't get out a whole lot unless I'm playing or whatever, but from what I gather, it's kind of the talk. You guys are kind of the talk. Everybody's talking about you guys.
Well, that's good to know.
Jeff, finally.
Everybody.
Finally, Jeff is popular.
Yeah,
that's the
took a long time.
And man, in all respect, it's just the Memphis ego. If you can't be in a, people always say, well, man, that guy's got an ego, or that guy. Look, man, you can't be a musician unless you got somewhat of an ego. I mean, you have to have, you know what I'm saying? You got to have somewhat of an ego.
Well, let's face it, everyone's on stage to be looked at.
Sure.
Right.
Sure. And we knew immediately when we had this idea, we talked about it, and we said, we won't have any trouble getting guys to come in and talk about themselves.
Oh, no,
that's right.
not at all, man. I mean, people are looking forward to getting in here and just letting everybody know who they are and what they're doing.
And you should. I heard a saying, if you're not willing to promote yourself, then who will?
Yeah, you have to. You have to. Yeah, self-advocacy.
Yep.
Right.
For sure.
Well, all right, Todd, let's start digging in here, man. Let's obviously everyone knows you as the singer for Roxy Blue, right, and then the drummer for Saliva.
And founded that band. Actually. Yeah, co-founder. I don't want to say I was the only guy.
Sure.
But. Right.
So I found this what was it? I found this article VW Music. Some article someone interviewed. That's how I was able to kind of dig up some info on you, and
I think all you had to do was call me.
That's true. That's true.
Oh, for the Roxy stuff.
Yeah.
So let's start there. What was it that was what's the genesis from your perspective on Roxy Blue instead of just this article I read?
Well, I don't know what the article says, but man, how we came about. And all that.
Yeah.
Well, it's weird because Roxy never approached anything and I'm saying this with respect, with all respect. I'm just saying, we never went in to be a cover band.
Yeah.
We never went in to. I met Sid. It's weird. So I went and it's the story everybody knows about. But what it was is that I went back to live with my parents for a little bit in Germantown. And because I forgot what I was doing before, but I went and stayed with them. And as I was staying with them, I was probably going through a bunch of crap or whatever. But my mother says, hey, you know what? You should just go, relax and whatever. There's a tanning bed of all gayest things you could think about. At the time, they were the cool. And I don't mean that in a sexual way. But so I said, okay, cool. So I went down to this place called German Tone.
Right.
And I was just going to relax, man, and hang out or whatever. And so I tell the lady at the front, she's up, and I said, hey, I heard this guitar playing. And I was in the, sitting down waiting to go tan. And she says, well, that's my son in the back. He's playing guitar. And I'm like, do you mind if I go back? She goes, no, go right ahead. So I go back in the back, and here's this kid, and he's in a room by himself, and he's in the corner, and it's like an empty room. And he was just jamming on guitar, and I was like, hey, man, what's up? My name's Todd. He's like, yeah, I know who you are. I was like, well, cool. I'll just cut to the chase, dude. You want to start a band? That's how, he's like, yeah.
At this point, were you already playing drums?
Well, I've been playing drums my whole life, man. You know,
right. So that was your first drums.
Well, yeah, drums were probably my first love. And we'll get to what my life started like that. But basically, I got with Sid. He says, man, I got this bass player. I just got back from GIT? Or GT, what is it? GIT? Guitar
I'm assuming,
Institution Technology.
yeah.
And he says, I got this bass player and he's my buddy. And so we got a bass player. I was like, okay, cool.
And that was Josh?
That was Josh.
Okay.
And Josh is still with Roxy.
Yep, I knew that.
And still plays like a beast.
Yep.
He's so good. And then I said, well, I got my cousin plays drums for me. And that was a guy named Ronnie Knight.
Okay.
And, you know, he plays with Rock the Boat or something like that. Anyway. I might have got that wrong. But
nope, that's it.
We get things wrong all the time up in here.
That's all right.
So anyway, man, I had a place above Cotton Row Studios that it was apartment. It was a production studio, but I turned it into an apartment. And Sid was kind of looking for somewhere to live, and I'm like, well, dude, just come live there. And so he came and lived there with me. And man, we started rehearsals like right then. I mean, like within a week, we're in there jamming.
And writing. Like right out of the gate, you wanted to be an original band? Man,
we were writing, and that's all it was about for us. And I don't know what the first song we wrote was. I really don't. But we went through a lot of weird stuff. I mean, like Times Are Changing, for instance, was not a ballad when we first started. Okay. So back in the day, a lot of people don't know this, but you know, back in the day, at that point, there were no cell phones. Right. I don't think so, no. So I would be out and about, and I'd come up with an idea, and we had an answer machine. And this is no lie. And I would call my house or call our place where me and Sid lived, and I would leave a message of, you know, humming, you know, I'd be happy, you know, like, da 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 da, you know, for Rockabye Baby. And that's honest to God truth. And I would do that. And then Sid would get home and do his thing. And then he'd hear it. Right. And then I'd get home. He's like, hey, man, I got your message, man. I've been kind of working on it. Working on which one? He's like, well, you know this one. He'd play it, and it sounded amazing. And then I'd go, okay, well, cool. And then I'd write some lyrics. And the thing is that we worked really fast. Because we were excited, you know, we had a mission. That's all we wanted to do. Right.
And, I mean, how old are you at this point?
25, maybe.
Piss and vinegar, right?
Yeah. Right.
Piss and vinegar.
It was, and Sid was, frick, man. He was young, dude. Yeah. And that cat he's a great guitar player. Yeah. But Sid was really, really young. And so was Josh. But we had this great area, man, right there, because it was like a studio. Mm-hmm. So we had an open room, and we were above Cotton Row Studios. Right. So, man, we would just jam all day, man, every day. Just that's what we wanted, man. We're gonna rock band, dude. And we used to watch Tora. Yeah. Our buddies, we used to watch them on MTV. Sure. We were up there, and we're just going, you know, God, man, we got to get there, you know, and. And
we just had John Patterson in here last week.
Yep. John, great guy. Love Fever Tree, love Tora. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So here we are, this band that we're going to do something, we think. So what we did, man, basically is we just went and opened. We wrote songs, and then we went and opened for any band that would have us, man. I mean, it was that way with us. That's all we did, man, is open, man, for anybody that would have us. And then one day I remember we couldn't get a gig. I was trying to get a gig, and I was talking to my friend John Buchanan, and I'm like, dude, I'm upset, dude. I can't get a gig, man. I can't get nobody. We can't open. What's up? He's like, look, dude, you guys aren't an opening band. Yeah. Okay, you guys got a headline. And I'm like, headline? I'm scared to death. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm not going to headline. He's like, yeah, dude, you got a headline. So we were scared, so we did our first headlining gig, and dude.
Where was that? Yeah. Do you remember?
Maybe Stage Stop. Okay. Maybe. I don't know. But I remember we did it, and your nerves are shot, dude. Sure. I'm like, God, you know, we're headlining. So when you're opening for somebody, it's easy. Yeah. because all you got to do is go out there and there's no pressure.
The whole time you're waiting for that your
Right.
last set, you're watching all these other bands play, and you're just waiting and waiting.
Right. And but when you open for somebody, there's no pressure, because if you do great, then great. And if you don't do good, the band behind you, so, but we always went out to dominate. I mean, that's how we were, man. I mean, I always tell people, to me, being in a rock band is kind of like a prize fight. And I don't mean that in an egotistical way. I just mean, if you're going for it and you want that, and that's what you want your life to be, then you got to go out to win it.
Sure.
You got to swing.
Yeah. You got to win it, because there's other people out there that are going to do it. I mean, they're going to practice more than you. They're going to do this. So
how long was your set? And all originals, right?
Yeah, we usually tried to play about an hour. Man, I don't know, man. Roxy sometimes would just play. We would just play.
I know one thing. Roxy was such a high energy live band.
We were a great high energy band.
I mean, I don't know how you could go much longer than an hour with the effort you guys put into it,
Man,
because it was amazing.
Well, thank you. I think it makes me tired when I watch.
Dude, I remember watching you guys, and you and Sid and all three of you guys out front just were everywhere, and you never stood still, and you kept the crowd just going nuts. And I think that was a big part of your success.
I think I think you're right. I mean, I think our strong point was definitely our live show. I mean, we were that band, man, that when we went out. I mean, full-fledged, and so we always had a really good time when we played. The thing is, we were all friends. So when we went out and played live shows, man, we were like, we're buddies, dude. So anyway, I don't know, we might have played an hour and a half. Yeah. Sometimes we might play longer, but the crowd, they wanted it. We gave it to them, man. We did not hold back for nothing.
And another thing I want to touch on about Want Some, the energy that you guys put out on stage, to me, was reflected just inside the album cover. That photograph that you guys had where you're in the air doing your jump.
I can tell you a story about that.
But that was you guys live. You did that kind of stuff. Honestly, I don't know how you didn't break your neck.
Dude, actually, to be honest with you, I was doing that. I did that till I think the last show I did that was with Warrant a few years back.
Yeah.
In Chattanooga.
Recently?
Oh, yeah. My wife has it on video.
How'd it go? How'd the jump go?
The jump went good. And I got to tell you, man, that I got to tell you, the thing is that the takeoff, I had to jump off these boxes because they didn't have a riser for us. And so my guys built I had these ego boxes, and they built these boxes. They taped them together. So my wife, Amy, was like, well, when you do it, you should be smart. You should do it at the end of the show and just do it once. I was like,
in case you break an ankle.
telling me that is like, okay, whatever. So I decided to do it at the beginning. I did it in the very first song.
Yeah.
It was off the first record, the newest record we had done at the time, Silver Lining.
Right.
And I jumped off that thing, and she said, they were all in the audience, and the place looked like Minglewood. It's an awesome place. And I jumped off that thing, and she said I disappeared because I kind of lost my balance when I did it. And I went down, and I kind of went below the monitors.
Right.
And I popped back up and kept going. And the landings are getting harder.
I would say so, yeah.
I think that's the landings.
Can you do you still got the split? Or is it a 45-degree angle on there?
Dude, the deal is, if you're going to do it, you got to do it. I don't do the half mass, and my knees are bending and all that. I don't. If I'm going to do it, and I got pictures of Kevin Jackson took a picture of me at Brett Michaels' show at Bank Plus Amphitheater, and I did it, and he's just happened to get the shot, and it's like I'm hyperextended. It's crazy. And I'm 50 at that point. I think I'm taking a guess, 50-something years old, but it don't matter anymore.
How old are you now?
Does it matter? It don't matter.
It don't matter at all.
I'm actually 58.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
I wouldn't think that.
I look good, don't I?
So no more splits.
No
more jump splits.
I don't do splits anymore. I don't do them because of of getting hurt.
Mm.
And my doctor did tell me my back was kind of hurting, and he kind of went and watched my videos and stuff and saw the stuff, and he's like, you can't do that anymore. But I don't do it because that's not really who we are anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, people kind of expect it in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So you go to the front of the riser and you're like, oh, I got to give them what they want.
Hey, dude, you get to a certain age, it don't make a damn what people expect.
Right.
You just can't do it.
Well, right. That's my point.
I
I
couldn't
got
even
to
get
a
off
point.
the
It's like, I
ground.
want to be able to walk tomorrow, you know?
Yep, absolutely.
But anyway, that's kind of Roxy's live show. You know, me and Sid and Josh too.
Yeah.
You know, running around like crazy. Scotty T's back there just going nuts on the drums.
Right.
It was that kind of band. And here's the deal. It was always like that.
Yeah.
I mean, we never let down. Every show was balls to the walls.
Right.
Man. That's how we were, man. And we took pride in our live show. And I think that's one of the main reasons that we ended up doing Squeezebox on our record. I never liked that song. I never wanted to do it. And my cousin was the drummer at the time, and he's like, man, we should do a cover on it in Squeezebox. And I listened to it. I'm like, that's horrible. He's like, yeah, but we're going to do it our own way.
Yeah.
Tom Zutot from Geffen heard us at a live show, and we did that song, and he's like, that's going on the record. And I'm like, really? He's like, dude, so even we opened for Cheap Trick.
Well, let's backtrack a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Now you touched on
I can tie it into everything.
You touched on Geffen. That was the next place I wanted to go to.
Okay.
So how did that come to be?
Wow, good times. So Geffen came to be because, back in the day, it was different. So back in the day, you got a buzz going around town.
Right.
That was the way you got a deal. I mean, it was just different than it is now by far.
Oh, for sure.
But back in the day, what you did is you just went out, you played gigs. And like I was saying, man, Roxy was playing any gig and every gig we could get, man. That's all we wanted to do was play gigs. And back in the day, we created a buzz we had a lawyer named Jim Zumwalt, and he was massive. So he kind of started a buzz with us. And, you know, I was telling you about us being upstairs at the, Nico heard us. Nico Lears was downstairs. And once he heard us, all we did was just go downstairs and start recording. And that's where we did all our demos. So we
Pretty
were right
convenient.
Very convenient.
Very cool. So he and Zumwalt kind of got the band rolling. And so we kind of had a buzz going around town. Every show was just jam-packed. So we kind of had that cool buzz going. So, I mean, we were just living life, dude.
Yeah.
Man, that's all we were doing.
So did they send, I know another band that I was close to, I know that they had I guess you would call it a showcase where somebody from the record label comes out and watches you perform. Did you guys have that happen?
Yes, actually a lot.
Okay.
So what happened at first, we started getting some interest. And so so it was kind of a weird situation. So we were just playing, man. And then Zumwalt would say, hey man, I got so-and-so coming out to see us. So we had some people pass on us.
Right.
But it really came down to this. We had the night we got, what really created our buzz is this. So we were about to get a record deal, and we were playing at Rascals, little bitty bar. Y'all know of Rascals.
Been there many times.
So it was a late night bar, and we were playing Rascals one night, and Haji, our friend Haji, said, hey, dude, Janie Lane from Warrant is standing over there, and he wants to talk to you. He loves the band. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. And I wasn't a Warrant fan at the time.
Yeah.
But I went over and talked to him, and he's like, hey, yeah, man, I love what y'all are doing. We're playing tomorrow night. Would you guys want to come to the show? So we went, and so I became pretty good friends with Janie. But Janie kind of enhanced the buzz in the industry, that he was interested in the band and stuff.
Okay.
So that kind of, everything was going really good for us. So the night we got signed, we actually were playing the stage stop, and we had Chrysalis, and I don't know, we had 2 labels there. That's all we knew. The place was so jam-packed, we didn't care.
Right.
Well, Tom Zutot from Geffen had already talked to us before, but he put us on like I don't want to say retainer, but it was more like let me see how you do, and I'll come back and see you in 6 weeks or whatever. Well, but then they had first dibs. So we didn't, we just rolling. So here we are playing, packed house, and we didn't know, we played our show, but we didn't realize that Tom Zutaut had come in at the last minute. These two labels are here.
Right.
He comes in at the last minute and he sits down with Jim Zumwalt. And the story is that he signed us on a piece of paper after the first song.
Yeah.
So after we got done with the gig, we go back in the back and the crowd's going crazy. We're going to do an encore. And here comes Tom Zutaut to the back. And he says, "Hey guys, what's up?" And we're like, "Hey, Tom." He's like, "You guys want to be on Geffen Records?"
Wow.
And we were like, "Yeah."
Nah.
And we were like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Well, cool. Go out there and tell everybody you're Geffen Records' new recording artist." And man,
that's
people
awesome.
were crying. My parents were there crying. I mean,
that's great.
So big moment in our life.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Probably the biggest moment up to that point, I would say.
Yeah, and I mean,
at least career-wise.
This is a guy that's the hottest thing around.
Sure.
The other labels didn't even talk to us after that because, I mean, this guy signed Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue. So we're thinking, man, this is great. And we like Tom a lot.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, man, the thing got crazier after that.
Yeah.
So
the thing got crazier, meaning just is it a lot of chaos once you're signed to something?
Well, the thing is, we needed a manager.
Yeah.
And
now it turns into a business,
well,
right?
This is where Janie came in and was like, we want our manager to manage y'all. And that's what we were like, okay. I mean, we were cool. And they were going to take us on tour with them. And the tour was actually, you remember the tour with Warrant, Firehouse, and Trickster?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that would have been us instead of Trickster.
Okay.
But we ended up going with Motley Crue's manager. Doug Thaler had just parted ways with Doc McGee after the Russia show or whatever, and he took Motley.
Okay.
So he liked the band, came in town, and that's what I was saying, like, about back in the day. Man, you just played, man, and you created a buzz, and it was all about the music. And then guys, people would come in and they like the band and they either sign you or they don't sign you. It's not no internet stuff. I mean, nothing against it now, but it wasn't like that.
Totally different world.
It was like,
it was special to get a deal because it was hard. Now it
was hard, man.
Now you can do so much on your own.
Yeah.
You can release music on YouTube and Spotify.
Yeah, I mean, it's a different world now. But
back then you needed a label to get distributed.
Well, yeah, man.
I mean, that's just how it was.
And it was great because you got somebody standing behind you doing the thing. But so at that point, we're sitting around thinking, well, who are we going to go with? We had some other guys that passed on us, but Doug Thaler came in, he signed us. I felt bad because Janie had done all the work, and I talked to Janie, and I was like, dude, and he was like, dude, I'd have done the same thing. That's what he told me. He said, I'd have done the same exact thing. I mean, it's Motley Crue's manager. They were on tour with Motley Crue at the time.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
How weird is that?
Yeah.
So anyway, we just, we got the manager, and we had Geffen Records, we had Top Rock management. I mean, our world was happening. Then we had to get a producer.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I would think a record deal or a record company comes in, they sign you and help you with those things, but they still just leave you on your own? Like, as far as finding a manager?
We didn't have to. Well, Tom Zutaut kind of wanted to work with Doug Thaler, the manager. That's what he did. He actually said, hey, I know Warrant's manager wants y'all and stuff, but, Warrant's managers and stuff were coming in town, and we were taking them to all the strip bars. I mean, dude, it was crazy. I mean, we were giving them the ride of their life.
We had some good strip bars back then.
Yeah.
Really
There's still some around.
Yeah, not like it was.
I wouldn't know, man, because I don't do all that anymore. But anyway, so when it came...
Amy may be watching. So.
Oh, yeah, I can tell you right now, that ain't happening. But when it came to producers... we didn't really have to mess with that. Now, Max Norman, I don't know. Max Norman, a lot of people may not know who he is. He did Lynch Mob.
Okay.
Which I thought was great. But Max wanted to do the record, and we had a few people pass on it, and then we had a few that bit, but they wanted Mike Klink.
Yeah.
And Mike Klink he was still working on Use Your Illusion 1 and 2. And it was just awesome.
Yeah.
So we love Mike. He couldn't have been a better choice, man. We had a big time with Mike. I mean, Mike was just so much fun to work with. And
let's talk about the record. I want to know where that was recorded. Where did you guys record Want Some?
There's a lot of places we recorded.
Okay.
So, I mean, we started out in Malibu.
Okay.
So they set us up this big ass house, man, which is, we were living more than a dream. So Geffen rented a house, and that's what we did. We lived in this big freaking mansion in LA or in Malibu.
Right.
And they wanted to do the basic tracks in this house.
Okay.
So they got this thing called not Mates. It was a mobile truck.
Mm-hmm.
And they brought it out and they set up. And all we did was, we had set up in different places in the house. And we recorded all of our basic tracks in the truck, or not in the truck, but in the house. And they ran lines through the.
Okay.
So that's
cool.
what we did our basic tracks. And then we ended up going to umpteen studios, man, to talk about living a dream. We did, we recorded at Steve Vai's house.
Oh, wow.
We recorded at the Warner Brothers studio where Van Halen did at the time. Then I think they closed it down, but I think Van Halen did 1 and 2 there.
Okay.
The one they got us in the exact same room.
Okay.
Zutop was big on just making our lives wonderful.
Sure.
And he did. We recorded at the Red Zone, which we got pretty good friends with the guys in Slaughter there. They were recording next door.
Neat.
You guys are just living the dream.
Well, yeah, we're recording at all these cool ass places, man, and just living life, man.
And these kids from Memphis getting to
do whatever we want to do and having the best times of our life. And I tell people, and I've talked about it a bunch. We were so enthralled in it, and you think it's going to last forever. I mean,
sure.
Who wouldn't, right? I mean, you're
right.
And so I don't think we ever took a deep breath, and it's not like we took it for granted, but I don't think we soaked it in. You're thinking, then this is, I mean, we're on a roll.
Well, it's a whirlwind. I mean, everything happened really fast, and you had all this stuff going your way.
Right.
So you're just enjoying every second of it, and it's hard to slow down and really think about what's happening.
Well, yeah, and the bad thing is that our big song, they slotted our big song to be Times Are Changing.
Okay.
And they had it drawn out. We had an awesome video getting ready to happen for it. So we were just so excited about that.
Yep. And some of that video was recorded at the stage.
Well, that was a different video. I mean, the original high dollar, high budget video was supposed to be, it was big time. Okay. It was going to be kind of like, the only thing I can describe it, was, I saw the layout they did. It was kind of like, U2, where they were on the horses up in the mountains. We weren't going to be on horses, but they did have us in the mountains. Yeah, I mean, and that's what it was going to be. It was going to be huge, and we were excited. And then it all got thrown out because somebody at Geffen that was in charge of it got fired, and then on top of that, the Seattle thing kind of swept in.
That happened to a lot of people.
It ruined a lot of things. And I, I'm not harsh about the Seattle thing.
I want to talk about Seattle, but before that, what was the reception like? You released the album. What was the tour after that like? What was that experience to support that new album?
Well, we played, so we did a lot of different stuff. So we went on the first tour was good. But we would branch and go play with different bands. And we'd get off the tour and they'd send us over to play with Dokken or go play with, we played, Lynch Mob was our first band we played when we got our bus. We played with Spinal Tap.
That's cool.
We freaking opened for Spinal Tap.
That's
dude.
great.
That's awesome.
Did you get to hang out with them out of character,
man,
out in the back?
Dude, I smoked weed with them.
Nice.
I did.
Awesome.
It was amazing, man. It was an experience that will last forever in my
Sure.
heart. But
did you see a little Stonehenge?
dude, I'm gonna tell you, you just funny you mentioned that. So at their sound check,
did you jump off it?
No, we were. So you know where the gig was? The gig was where it's St. Louis Amphitheater, where Guns N' Roses had tore it up.
Oh yes,
Yeah. So they redid it.
Yeah,
and that's where the gig was. So I got stoned with them, and then they were going to do sound check. So I went out and sat in the stands. You know, it was in the middle of the day, and they did what they did for sound check, Stonehenge, and the little thing comes down. And I think Scotty T was with me. We're laughing our ass off, man. It's just funny. But man, you know, we Roxy got to experience a lot, and man,
in a short amount of time too. So it must have been a
yeah,
whirlwind.
man. And you know,
relatively speaking, we're talking a couple of years, right?
Well,
since getting signed and then being on this World War tour, right?
Yeah, we got. The bad thing is that we didn't get the tour that we wanted because...
Which was what?
Well, so when we played the Troubadour one night,
nice.
We played for Westwood One Broadcast, and Tommy, all the guys in Motley were there. Johnny Karabi was in the band. It was their new deal.
Yep.
And they all came out to watch us, and we had a great time. Tommy announced that Roxy Blue will be going on tour with Motley Crue.
Wow.
And you're just hearing this for the first time?
It had been mentioned by Doug Thaler in the offices, but you know, But when Tommy said it, and I hung out with Tommy a lot.
Tommy's saying it must be true.
Yeah. Tommy was a great guy, and I hung out with Tommy a good bit. He was just a super good guy. So we're freaking stoked, dude. I mean, how can you not be stoked? Right. I mean, Motley Crue. So we're thinking, man, we're going, dude. This is it. We're good, man. We're getting ready to blow up. All we got to do is go on tour with Motley Crue.
Right.
Well, it never happened, and it never happened because, well, we all know why it didn't happen. You know, the Seattle scene.
Sure.
Motley wasn't selling tickets like they were, so here we are going. What are we going to do? We did a tour, and it was cool. And we play with a lot of bands, so for that, I'm very grateful for. But we had a good time on our tour. We did all amphitheaters when we were on the tour. We were selling all the tickets. Our manager was, you know, he was loving what we were doing, man. We were doing great. Made a lot of friends, a lot of family. You know, new people that we met. Got a lot of experience, and we're waiting on the Times Are Changing to come out. So they tested Times Are Changing in 4 or 5 major markets.
Okay.
I guess what you call a 5-star market or whatever.
Right.
So they tested them, and they tested number 1. So we had a number 1 song in Salt Lake City. So I think we ended up doing 2 shows there, but so all this is going down. We're loving life, and the video comes through, and we see it, and we're like, oh, when we see the layout. There's no video yet, but we see the layout. Oh, this is going to be great. MTV's going to eat this up. We're going to be loving life. This is going to be great.
Right.
And it never happened. So it's like the plug got pulled on everything, man. And it's just, you know, and it sucks, man.
It really kind of was overnight, wasn't it?
Man, when we tell you it's overnight, dude, people say that's just an expression. I'm telling you right now, it was so overnight that it was stupid.
And the article I read and drummed up on Google, it's interesting. You hear about bands like yourself talk about how shady the business can be, where you're the king until you're not.
Right.
And then you're just forgotten about, right?
Yeah,
and it must be on a personal level, people that you thought you trusted that had your back, all of a sudden turned the back on you.
Man, I actually experienced that firsthand.
Yeah.
So what they have is they have reps.
Sure.
They go around on for all your places you go, they got a rep, you know, that for that little area or whatever. And when we were hot, when we first started, you know, we're getting out there, man. We were they were told, man, you push this band. This is the band you push, and everybody was just cool, man. Everybody front, you know, hey guys, what's up, man? You know, it was like, you know, they love us, you know, and anything y'all want, man. You know, they treat us like kings. And then I never will forget, Jackal came out on Geffen. And we were friends with guys in Jackal, but they came out on Geffen. And man, I was in the Omni New Daisy and Jackal was playing. And the same rep that was just this girl, I forgot her name. I mean, I don't care to know it anymore. But she was like, always, Todd, what's up, man? You know, we were cool. I walked up to her and said, hey, girl, what's up? I was going to give her a hug.
Yeah.
And she looked at me like she didn't even know who I was. And that's when I knew how shady, fucking crazy the business is. And it was, dude. And
what have you done for me lately?
Yeah. And that part of the business, I don't miss, man.
Sure.
You know, it was a bunch of bullshit. And I know that they're there for their making their money. And, you know, I get it, you know. But I don't have to worry about it no more.
So how many singles came off of Want Some? Was it Times Were Changing, Rob the Cradle, and were there any other singles off the album? Did Squeezebox make a single?
No, man. Rob the Cradle was the first one.
Okay.
Which, you know, it did really well on rock radio and
had a great
not
video.
Not around here that much, but I mean, up north we were killing it.
Yeah.
And then we came out with Love on Me.
Okay.
So what they were doing is basically setting it up for Times Are Changing, and I think they were going to follow it up with. Nobody Knows.
Okay.
So they had a plan. Whatever the plan was, we were waiting on it. But you know, live-wise, man, we were killing it everywhere we went. So we knew things were good, you know, on the live front. But anyway, Love on Me did pretty good, and they did Love on Me for rock radio, just as kind of like a little in between before Times Are Changing came out. And I'm sure if they knew what was getting ready to happen, then, you know, and I talked to Tom Zutaut, you know, every once in a while now, and he's Todd, I messed up. I came out with the record too late. And I'm like, yeah, but shoulda, woulda, coulda, man. It's
you don't see it coming.
No. What are you gonna do now? I mean, it's over with now. You don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But I don't regret the run we had.
Oh, I wouldn't either.
But a lot of people would say, you know, you guys missed the boat. And am I supposed to feel good about being a band that they say, well, hey, this band here was close to being, they were one in the top 10 of the bands that should have made it. Do I feel good about that? I don't know if I feel good about that, you know?
Yeah. Well, I don't know how you can not feel great about what you had happen.
That's what I was going to say.
You know?
I feel good and I feel blessed that what we did, we did. So I don't have any regrets on that.
And timing, nobody can. You can't predict timing. You know?
Can't.
Tsunamis sneak up on.
I think it's fair to say that if you guys had come out 2 years earlier, that the run would have been a hell of a lot bigger and a lot longer.
That's what the saying is. If we would have come out a year, it's like I don't blame Seattle.
Yeah,
but I was kind of hoping that they could have come out maybe 6 months later and just given me a chance to kind of rock the boat a little bit. Because we were ready, dude. We were excited, and when it didn't happen, I think it took a lot of wind out of our sails. But we tried to keep going. And we did to a certain extent, but things started getting kind of shady, man. We went through a lot of changes. I know Sid, we parted ways with Sid, which, you know, to this day, I think was, you know, even though we had fun with Wayne playing in the band, and we were changing because you don't know who you are anymore. Right. You know, that was the hardest thing.
It must suck out all your confidence, right?
Yeah, and the hardest thing is that you're trying to figure out who you are anymore because all these bands are I mean, Seattle's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't want to try to be like Seattle. We didn't.
Right.
And I never thought we were a hair band.
Right.
You know, people used to say that. And I never thought Roxy was a hair band at all. I thought all the guys in Roxy were really good players.
Sure.
I mean, all the guys that played in the band could just play their asses off.
Right.
I was fortunate to be playing with guys that good. You know, thank God I could write a song, because if not, I would have never been. They would have fired me. Yeah, I started the band and, well, we're going to have to fire you, dude, because you suck. But anyway, you know, I don't blame Seattle. I think it needed to change. I think that there was I think that in LA, I know that a lot of stuff started sounding alike.
Yeah.
And I personally think that, you know, Seattle, when I heard it, so how I found out about Seattle was weird. I'm riding around with a guy named Todd Sullivan in LA in his car, and he says, "Hey man, let me play you this song that Gary Gertz just signed this band, and dude, he has a cassette." And he says, it's kind of a good demo, but it's a demo. And he goes, "I want you to hear it." So he plays me "Smells Like Teen Spirit."
Yeah.
And dude, it did something to me.
Yeah.
It really did. It did something to me that
it made me want to throw up, but that's a whole nother.
I know, and there's a lot of.
I was 14 years old, man. I was swimming in that shit. I mean, I loved it.
Yeah,
dude, I fell in love with it, and I got to tell you, I couldn't get enough of it.
Yeah.
And it made me want to go re-record our freaking record.
Right.
But the thing is that we didn't want, a lot of bands, it just ruined everybody in LA. I mean, we single-handedly watched it happen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I used to hang out with Janie at his house a lot, and it
messed with him.
It killed him, man.
Yeah.
It freaking killed him. And, you know, I got to tell you, I watched a lot of bands just that were used to playing arenas and their life, that's what their life was, just go to complete, what are we going to do now?
Looking for a day job.
Yeah, but
even panic mode is what they went through.
Even Kiss struggled selling tickets. Of course, the paint's off by then and everything, but
but
they were having they couldn't sell tickets. It's Kiss. Hello, you know.
Well, the bottom line is I liked it. I hear a lot of people talk about it, musicians when we're out on the road, even now when we're out, and they're like, "Oh, you know, man, you know, I'll be in an interview. Oh, man, you know, Seattle killed it. And they know people are so anti-Seattle, you know, the flannel." But dude, I love that crap. In fact, I didn't ever try to be like it, but it kind of enhanced my writing. So I went to a whole nother deal. Well, I think it needed to change. You know, it was getting so saturated. You know, like not when I say that Roxy wasn't a hair band. The reason I said that is because I don't think we fit in because we could play. Our guys could really play, so we didn't really fit into that. But I will say that, you know, some of these. The guys in the Seattle stuff was kind of like the stuff that I like to listen to because I was into Black Sabbath and
well, there was a lot of aggression. There's a lot of aggression there.
Yeah, it went from being happy to
dark
suicide. You know,
minor chords and little
but
less
hey,
melody.
you know what? Each to his own. Well, I mean, it was just actually it was real life is what it was, and I personally was digging all of that, but I still stayed true to Roxy. And we actually recorded a second record. And
I was going to ask that question.
So was it still with Geffen?
It was. And it was a weird deal because our manager says he came and listened to it. And it was different. Because like I said, we're fishing, dude. We don't know what we're doing next. We don't know if...
Now, do you have these songs from this?
Yeah, somewhere album? I think I do, and I think Scotty probably does, but I think I do. But the thing is we were so just fishing, but we were still just kind of being true to ourselves. But I think we just naturally changed. We weren't going to write Want Some Too,
right?
But there was some cool songs on there. I mean, it wasn't like we went that outside the box,
right?
But and Sid and I did a lot of the writing on the first record, and we didn't do a whole lot of the writing on this one. It was that one was more me and Scotty. We did kind of laid the groundwork for it. So yeah, that's where we were at on that. But we did that, and Doug Thaler came in, and he loved it. It was a demo, but it sounded good. And Doug was like, I really like this, man.
Right.
He goes, but I'm going to be brutally honest. They're going to write y'all off. They're not going to promote this record, and they're going to write y'all off.
They're going to shelf you, yeah.
Right. And I'm sitting there thinking, so about that time, I got a phone call from Janie. And he said, and Wayne Sweeney was actually in the band we were playing with us at the time. And Janie called me. We were in a rehearsal because they got us these big rehearsal spaces all the time. And that's all we were living the life, you know.
Right.
So I got a call from Janie, and he's like, look, dude, I'm going to go solo. And the guys have been, you know, looking for a singer, and they've tried out some guys. And I told them to call you, but they didn't want to break up Roxy Blue. And I'm like, well, we're kind of in turmoil right now. We don't know what's going on. He's like, well, would you fly out here? And I'm like, yeah, fly out there. So it flew me out to LA, and I stayed with Eric and Janie some, but we recorded a few songs that ended up making it on a record, like Hollywood Underground or something.
Okay.
So, you know, that was cool, but you know, this is a true story. Everything I'll tell you is true. This is weird because it sounds like some of the stuff I'm getting ready to tell you, some people are going to say, man, dude, there's just no way that happened. But believe it or not, it did. So I got a call. We were going to go out one night. So Joey, a couple of guys from Warrant, and then Tommy Lee. Tommy, and I played on Tommy's softball team. I'd known Tommy from back in the day. Tommy calls and says, hey, dude, I'm going to pick you up. We're going to go by Doug Thaler's house. I want to talk to you. We both want to talk to you. I was like, that's cool. Whatever you want to do. I don't give a shit. I mean, I knew Tommy good. So, I mean, it wasn't no big deal to me.
Right.
So anyway, he picks me up. We go to Doug's house and in Testarossa. And they talked me out of it. They's like, look, dude, we like, you know, Tommy's like, look, dude, I like Warrant. They're my friends. But, man, you're going to end up being known as the guy who took Janie's place, and you're going to have a short-lived career. And you don't need that, because the deal is Roxy, he says, Roxy wasn't known well enough that you can reinvent yourself. Yeah. So that's all I'm thinking right there at that point. I'm thinking I can reinvent myself.
Right.
So I left, and I told them, guys, I'm sorry, I'm leaving. I'm going back to Memphis. So I went back to Memphis, and I think I started a couple little bands like Screaming Jesus or something. I forgot the eras kind of. But eventually, within a short period of time, me and Wayne had a band together. But I started Saliva.
Right.
I was playing drums again. And the only reason I was playing drums is because the drummer we had to leave. We had a band going, me and Wayne. And the drummer we had to leave because of a personal problem. So we were like, well, what are we going to do? And Wayne was like, well, just, we started writing songs. Me and Wayne, I had this studio at my house, underground, completely soundproof. And I'm just going to be brutally honest, we just did a bunch of drugs. And we stayed up all freaking night. And he and I would just write songs all night long.
Right.
And you could play as loud as you wanted, because you could
caffeine,
play
right?
Well, right. And you could play as loud as you wanted because it was completely soundproof. Yeah. So finally, we had some songs, and somebody said, hey, man, you should call Josie and start a band.
Josie Scott,
because Black Bone was split up. And I'm like, okay, cool. So we called Josie. He came over, and that's how Saliva started. He came over, and we started jamming, and Matt Dees was playing bass the first night. And, and Matt really liked me singing. It was nothing against Josie.
Right.
But Josie came in that night, and I'll never forget, he just screamed a lot.
Yeah.
Me and Wayne heard something, but Matt was like, we'd already had a band and everything was sounding good. Matt's like, look, dude, if you're not singing, I got to bail. And I don't think it was anything personal towards Josie or anything. I just think that that's what Matt didn't want to do it.
Right.
But me and Wayne, we heard something. We knew something was special here. We said, there's something going on here. So John Guttery, who plays with Every Mother's Nightmare, but I don't know what he was doing at the time, he knew a guy named Dave Novotny. He's like, dude, I know this dude. You should call him. So we called Dave, met with Dave, and Saliva was actually a 4-piece band when we first played our first gig. We were not a 5-piece.
Okay.
Chris DeBaldo had to actually, he wanted to hear me play drums. So he came and watched us play at the Daisy. And he sat right up front. And he joined the band the next day. And I'll say this too. One thing about, and anybody that's I'll just say this for any young people that, want advice, and I don't like giving advice, but if someone was out there saying, I really want to work hard, what's it take? I don't know what it takes to make it anymore because it's different. But I will say this. Both the bands, and I'll just say, I won't say both. 714, we'll get into that too. But I mean, Saliva and Roxy Blue, the one thing that we had in common is that we practiced every freaking day. Maybe not on Saturdays and Sundays, but 5 days a week, dude. I mean, it was, because you know why? Because we wanted something. Mm-hmm. We wanted it. We were all after the same exact thing. And that's what it's all about to me. Right. If you get some guys or people or girls, guys or whatever, and you want to be in a band, you want to play, and you got to want the same thing. And you got to go for it.
Yep.
And you can't listen to nobody that tells you can't do it, because Lord knows we heard 1 million people tell us we couldn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, so I've always said that getting together and playing songs is the easy part. It's finding 4 or 5 people that have the same drive, the same ideas, and the same desire to do what's got to be done. That's the difficulty.
That is hard. That's to me, that's probably the hardest thing, is getting the personalities. You're not always going to get along. No. I mean, for sure. That's a given. I mean, everybody knows that. You're in a band, you're not going to get along. But we were all friends. We all got along in both bands. I mean, time goes on and you do go through troubles, but for the most part, it was good times.
I don't mean to skim over too much here.
Please do.
But we're always going to have people back on. So this is not the last time you're going to be on here. So we can dig deeper into other things.
I'm a part 3 guy.
For sure. But as we wrap this up here, what is going on right now with Roxy Blue?
Yeah, 2023. What's happening with Roxy Blue? I know I saw something recently that you guys are going to be playing the Whiskey.
We are, man.
That's awesome.
So that's the new news that no one knows about right now.
Well, I saw it. So
I think the Whiskey's got it on. We're getting ready to put it out there. So
okay, I hope I didn't divulge a big secret there.
No, man. I was going to talk about it tonight. So I got a couple things before we go, and I really appreciate you guys having me on. Yeah, and man. I know we got a late start, and I got a lot of things I'd like to talk to y'all about in the future, but. Right now, what's going on with Roxy Blue is, first of all, we got a brand new drummer that we're really happy with. His name's Chris Cook. We haven't really made an official announcement on that, but we're really excited about him and the new, the new thing. We're getting ready to start doing some stuff. Also, we got invited to do to headline the Whiskey. So the cool thing about it is it's the week of NAMM. Okay. And we're headlining the Whiskey Go-Go in Hollywood, so it's us on Wednesday night, and Thursday night is Faster Pussycat, and Friday night is LA Guns, and it's the week of NAMM, and it's the 51st anniversary of the Rainbow. So they're making a humongous deal on this. So we're really excited that they wanted us to play. We have not, like I said, we haven't played in LA since the Troubadour back in 1992.
Wow.
So we're excited.
That's cool.
Well, I just want to go on record as letting you know that I have nothing going on that weekend.
Oh, okay.
So you're welcome to take me with you if you'd like to.
Hey, man, you know what? We might need to. Yeah. We might need some folks on this trip. But yeah, we're excited about that trip. But we're excited about the new ventures. And I would like to say, and I firmly believe this, you guys are going to get a ton of people listening to y'all. Y'all are doing a great job. But the one thing I do want to say is that this town, whether it be originals, covers, whatever, this town is just loaded with incredible talent.
Absolutely.
And I would put the Memphis musicians up against anybody in the world. Right now, and Memphis goes through a lot. The phases. 1 minute, for years it did that. It'll go through an original phase, then it'll go through a cover phase. But I will say this, there's bands out there right now that are playing that are so good, and all the musicians are so good. And Josh Haynes probably plays in every one of them. Well, at least
This is
75.
as we record this, right in the middle of Josh Haynes week.
Yeah.
You know, so
Oh, I
yeah.
saw that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Josh is a sweetheart of a guy, and he's, my father-in-law, my late father-in-law, Jimmy Jameson, and that's something we'll touch down to.
That'll be interview number 4.
He always liked Josh. He always used to tell me, man, you need to get that guy right there in your band.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
So,
That's awesome.
but I was at the time, if I'd have known what I know now about Josh, I'm like, dude, he ain't got time to be in my band. He's in the other one. Maybe if I play, once a blue moon. But I just want to tell you, what y'all are doing is awesome, and paying attention to what's going on in Memphis is important.
Yeah.
Well, we're trying our best too. We're trying to get out there more, and
I appreciate it.
And we certainly don't want this to be the last time you come in. Because we didn't touch on everything we want to touch on. I want to talk about 714 and some other things you've done and some other things, whatever you're planning on doing in the future. But we are a little short on time now, but we're going to start to wrap it.
It's so interesting to me to hear the stories of the band of your era, how the record labels were back then, how that process was, and then the sudden death with Seattle. You know, it's just interesting to me. So I want to hear more stories. I do. You know, so
you've come to the right place.
Well, look, and then I want to learn. We just kind of scratched the surface on Saliva too. I feel bad about that.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people wanted to hear about that, but
we'll get some more on that.
Absolutely,
man. We got room for part 2 and part 3 for sure.
And we'll make that happen.
I've done a lot of stuff and had fun, but I've always been surrounded by great musicians, and like I said, Memphis is full of them. And pretty much everybody I play with, I take my hat off to, because they've always made me better in what I do.
Yeah.
So,
Look, it's awesome that you guys are going to go play the Whiskey. That's amazing. But do me a favor and let's have a Roxy show right here in Memphis. Let's make that happen soon.
man, we're trying to do something before that. Just because we want to try to get a little money together. I mean, we're getting paid for it, but we got to still get there.
Sure.
So we're talking about doing something. I'll keep you guys posted so y'all can let everybody know.
Absolutely. We would love to do that.
You guys will be front row, right?
Please make that happen.
Anytime we
I
play,
want to be
you
front
guys.
row at the Whiskey. I don't,
Well, as you said, you have that week
That's
off.
totally up to you, man.
Well, we're not going to say bye quite yet. Let's talk to the audience a little bit, Jeff.
All right.
So, how can people find us and support Todd Poole here and sharing this episode?
As always, you guys can find us on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and Stitcher.
Yeah, all the audio platforms. The full video is released on Facebook and YouTube every Monday at 6 p.m.
Right.
So check that out. We would love it if you migrated over to the YouTube channel. That's really the best way you can support us. But any way you're consuming this content, we're happy with.
Yep.
And honestly, look, we can't do this without people like Todd Poole.
Yeah.
And we can't do this without people like you watching and listening to this. Me and Jeff,
Boring.
we have nothing to do with any of this. Without you guys, what are we going to do?
Right.
You know, we can't, no one's going to listen to you and I talk and bitch about the sun, right?
Couple of minutes.
Yell at the clouds like
I don't know, man. You guys are pretty interesting.
But, check out our Patreon tip jar, $1 a month, $12 a year. If you can spare that, that's helpful too. And ShelbyRoadProductions.com. Sign up for that free consultation. And I'd love to help you out in any way I can if you're wanting to start a podcast. So again, Todd Poole, man, this is not a goodbye. You're going to be back here. I want to hear more stories.
Cool, man. I love being here. So you guys just let me know and let's make it happen.
We'll do it.
All right. Thanks, Todd. And thanks everyone for watching.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Take care.
See you. Peace.